Hi, this is Anthony. Welcome back to my show. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you haven't already, I would appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button, and hopefully you'll hit the like button at the end. In today's video, I wanted to respond to one that actually popped up on my phone. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have seen it, since I do most of my YouTube viewing and YouTube channel work on my laptop. It's from a former reporter named Dodge Landisman, who I learned about from watching an interview with him on Aaron Smith-Levin's show. Dodge claims that he was fired from his TV reporter's job due to pressure from the Church of Scientology. I have no doubt that at least that's probably partly true. I don't know if there were any other factors that went into it. It may be that there was a series of issues that have been building up, and then that was the one that broke the camel's back. But again, I don't know, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And I think in general, most of us would agree that companies, in particular ones involved in the media, should try to have the backs of their employees when they're being targeted by the Church of Scientology. Anyway, just as Aaron had asked, I subscribe to Dodge's YouTube account and occasionally look at it, although he doesn't seem to publish a whole lot. Anyway, this one came up when he was giving his take on the Aftermath Foundation controversy. Unfortunately, it greatly concerned me. According to the timestamp that I see, it was published 2 days ago. I'm not sure if Dodge has been able to watch many videos that have been put out by the various parties, in particular Aaron and his interview on Down the Rabbit Hole, as well as the statements made by the current members of the Aftermath Foundation. Even if the only thing that one has seen was the interview with Aaron on Down the Rabbit Hole, while it's from his perspective, I think he didn't do a bad job enumerating all the bad decisions that he's made, and in particular explaining the chronological timeline that one can see that there was a very definite concerning instances of poor judgment on his part that were escalating. And if you would have paid attention to what Claire listed out on her video, there was evidently protracted discussions on when Aaron would leave the board. Mr. Landisman seems to be unaware of any of this. But that's not even the most egregious problem that I have with this video, and I understand that Aaron tremendously helped Dodge get the following that he currently has on YouTube. I don't want to put words in Dodge's mouth, but I think that he would agree that Aaron really helped him out in that space. And good for Aaron. I appreciate anybody out there who is helping anyone else try to get ahead in life, whether it's in their career in a 9-to-5 or a potential career on YouTube. But because of this connection to Aaron, obviously I think Dodge would readily agree that he has some bias in the situation. Some strong personal bias. One where he feels like he needs to take a side in the controversy and stand by his friend. Obviously, you could say that everybody has some type of bias, and in many of my videos people have stated that I'm biased against Aaron and lean towards the board. You're welcome to your opinions, but I think that since I point out in every one of my videos that I've done recently, where I say I think Aaron, while making some mistakes, is a great person. He's a great entertainer that imparts a lot of good information. He's done a lot of good for the ex-Scientology world, in particular people trying to escape it. He makes interesting videos that are usually the first ones I watch anytime I sit down at my computer. So I don't think that one can say that I'm greatly biased against Aaron, just because I believe that the long-term history of his escalating problematic behavior became a serious issue for the smooth functioning of the Aftermath Foundation board. But do I know any of these people? No, not at all. I don't have an axe to grind. And besides Aaron, I think the other people seem to me to be great individuals. Did some of them do horrible things 20 years ago when they were in a cult and pressured to act in a certain way? Sure, but I think that they're working on redeeming themselves. But back to the video in question. Dodge states that he came from a wealthy family, one that started the Prentice Hall Book Publishing Company, and an ancestor created a family foundation, which Dodge for a while was a member of. And to provide insight into Aaron's situation, Dodge mentioned a story in which a distant cousin, who was a family foundation board member, got drunk and belligerent at a hotel while they were meeting to discuss distributing grants. And that cousin ended up defecating on the carpet of his hotel room on purpose, as well as causing the front desk clerk to perhaps fear for their life with his drunken rage. Dodge said that the member of the family was put on probation for a year before being allowed back on as a voting member. And I did my research in the foundation, and those family members who comprise most of the board are not compensated for their work. And Dodge said that the member in question eventually became president of the foundation. Already, we can think to ourselves, are these best practices for any type of board? Well, it's a family foundation where most, if not all, board members are descendants of the founder, and therefore there may be more leeway in forgiving transgressions from the management. So, based on perhaps limited nonprofit experience other than being on a family foundation, where he was a member not based on his achievement or merit, but based on being a descendant of the founder, which is perfectly okay in my mind, but is a completely different type of nonprofit than a regular foundation. In my video that I did a couple days ago about bylaws and foundations, I read some information from an organization called the Foundation Group. And they address issues of related members being on nonprofit boards because this is an issue that many people brought up, that there were 3 married couples on the board of the Aftermath Foundation, and they're the ones who voted Aaron off. At the end of the FAQ page from that organization, the Foundation Group states about private foundations. Private foundations. The rules are quite different for foundations, though less restrictive, because private foundations are not considered publicly supported. There are no limits on board composition, even allowing for an entire board to be members of one family. You often see this with family foundations, but there are trade-offs. The IRS makes it much more difficult for board members of a foundation to be compensated as employees compared to a public charity. It can be, but the rules are strict and penalties for getting outside those rules are steep. Okay, let's look at what Mr. Landesman stated referring to Aaron Smith-Levin's removal from the board of the Aftermath Foundation. And I had my Microsoft Word create a transcript based on what Dodge was saying in his video. So as I read it verbatim, obviously, I encourage you to go watch his entire video. It's only a few minutes long, so you can see that I'm not cutting out anything exculpatory. So he says, this is not the normal process that not-for-profits go if they find somebody misbehaving. Usually they'll put somebody on probation. They did not give Aaron the opportunity to even be on probation. They simply kicked him out. Or they say, we will want you to resign, but not in 6 months, but we will want you resigned in like 3 years. So I've got to phase out my time in the not-for-profit and then go, and usually they're asking somebody to resign and there's still some goodwill. They'll ask him, well, when would you like to resign? And would you like to be given that time frame? Aaron was not given that time frame whatsoever. So I found that particularly interesting, that he was essentially just kind of forced out with something that was not in conjunction with the not-for-profit. Now, it doesn't seem like this is the case, that there was any coercion. So Dodge continues giving a few examples that deal with sexual content that if you want to listen to, you can. I don't think that it does Aaron's side any favor, and it's not really relevant to what I wanted to look at. Again, in my mind, I'm not leaving anything out of context in the remaining dialogue that he says. I just don't want to say anything that's going to get my video demonetized. And again, please watch the video for yourself. So I looked again at Dodge's LinkedIn, and again, I don't know how updated and complete it really is. I know I haven't looked at mine in probably a couple years, and it's not updated. But besides the family foundation in question that he was on for almost 6 years, it looks like he might have had a little bit of experience here and there with some other nonprofits, although it's not really clear if they're government committees or actual 501c3 groups. But not a whole lot of experience based on the dates shown on his LinkedIn. Okay, so why does that matter? I have to ask myself, where in the world is this guy coming up with any of this information? If somebody engages in some type of misconduct, he maintains they're not going to be asked to leave the board in 6 months. They're going to be given 3 years before they leave the board. And if there's still some goodwill between the person in question and the board will ask them when they want to leave. Let's not worry about Aaron Smith-Levin's transgressions right now. Let's just say that you're on a board, and a board member commits what everyone agrees is some issue where they need to be removed. Once you're sure that it really happened, you don't wait 6 months. You don't wait 3 years. You remove them as soon as practical. Think about this. Let's say that you're a woman and a man at work who is interested in dating you is harassing you at work in a very inappropriate manner and continues to do so after you've told him you're not interested in engaging in a relationship with him. And let's say that you work together in an office and there is no place for him to be transferred to another location where he's not face to face with you at work. If he's employed with the company, he's right there with you. So would one think that it would be appropriate for management to say to the person, hey, we got to let you go, but don't worry, we're not even going to make you go in 6 months. We're going to let you stay around for 3 years and then you can leave. Or if you don't get mad at us for making you leave in 3 years, just tell us when you want to leave and we'll agree to that. So do you see how this is just absolutely horrible advice being given out about how things should be conducted on a board of directors? Where is this coming from? Can anyone point to any nonprofit board consultant or anywhere on the internet that says, yeah, if you have a problem and you agree that it's a termination issue, don't even worry about doing it in 6 months. Give them 3 years. Now, I know that many people disagree with how the board handled Aaron. I've done a number of videos where I delve deep into the issues on both sides that we know and how they could have been handled better. I think everybody involved made some mistakes and some parties to the situation made extremely poor choices. We're not all going to agree on whether his departure was warranted or who was more right in the final analysis. But anyone giving advice on how to conduct nonprofit board business needs to be extremely cautious when they're presenting recommendations online to make sure that they're best practices and are legal. And this goes for my viewers taking advice from me, where I've pointed out my background and the experience that I have, and you can make your own determination on whether what I say is relevant. I know that what I've said in this video may sound a little harsh towards Mr. Landesman. Trust me, I'm restraining my language in reference to his advice, but I think that he is a sincere, nice, and well-meaning man, and I wish him all the best in his journey, and I think that YouTube might still be a great venue for him to create an outlet for his work. He is certainly entitled to his opinion about Aaron and everybody else, but an opinion about Aaron's behavior and advice about time frames and removing hypothetical people from a board are two dramatically different things. As always, I would love to hear from everybody. Let me hear your comments, and please do hit the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't already. Thank you so much.